Chapter 3. Symptoms. Most of us will only choose to see a doctor or other health professional when we have a specific health issue, or because of certain symptoms that are causing us concern. Often, the type and location of our symptoms will help to narrow down possible causes, but this is not always the case. For example, our son's leg pain pre-diagnosis could have easily been mistaken for cramp or growing pains. A GP thought it might be arthritic flu. Leukemia wasn't even on our radar. Other people will seek medical help because they have a pre-existing medical condition that requires regular monitoring and assessment. Other than these reasons, or to get certain vaccines needed for travel or a health check for insurance purposes, it is rare for somebody to access medical help when they have no symptoms, no health concerns, or no pre-existing conditions. Healthy or not. Similarly, it is easy for a business with no obvious symptoms of poor health to carry on as normal, assuming that everything is okay. In the absence of any obvious problems, as long as the clients keep coming and money continues to come in, everything can appear healthy, particularly if only looked at on a superficial level. While such a business may in fact be healthy, a smart business owner or marketer will still keep a very close eye indeed on certain aspects of their business. They know that a problem in any area of the business could be an early warning indicator of a potential issue in the future. By looking out for these early warnings, a smart marketer or business owner can take action quickly to hopefully prevent a problem growing and developing into a larger, more damaging one. In the weeks leading up to our son's diagnosis of leukemia, he had various symptoms like unusual fatigue, pain in a foot, pale skin. We were aware of these symptoms and did all that we could to help alleviate them. We hugged him, rubbed his feet, gave him paracetamol, all the things parents do when their child is unhappy and in pain. We were in and out of our local GP surgery a number of times where we listened to their advice and followed their suggestions. But we didn't stop and look at all of the seemingly separate symptoms and put them together. We were so busy trying to manage the symptoms, we were not able to step back and look at the bigger picture. It was only when we took him directly from yet another GP appointment to the A&E department of Bristol Children's Hospital that this bigger picture became clearer. As we talked with the hospital staff and went through a very similar triage process to the one described in Chapter 1, all the different symptoms began to be looked at as part of the same underlying problem. The very first nurse we saw at the hospital told us that her alarm bells were ringing from the medical history we had given. Our son's assessment was bumped up to a different priority level, and certain tests were carried out as part of their pre-planned, well-oiled process to get to a firm diagnosis as quickly as possible. Left to our own devices, my wife and I would have continued trying to help our son as we had been. Hugs, paracetamol, prayer, despair. Who knows how long we would have carried on doing those things for. We thought we were doing the right things, and we were, in as much as we knew then. We'd sought advice from the GP, from the 111 telephone helpline, and from an out-of-hours GP appointment over the weekend. But none of these things were ever going to be able to help effectively treat his leukemia. The only way his type of leukemia could be treated was with intensive, aggressive chemotherapy. Sigh. We don't know how long the leukemia had been developing inside our son's bone marrow. It was only when his symptoms became more pronounced that we realised something was wrong and that expert help was needed. It was only when we were in the right place, the hospital, and with the right people, the oncology team, that we were able to get an accurate diagnosis. Knowing what we now know, if the same thing happened again, we would take him directly to the hospital for assessment by the oncology team. In fact, as I'm writing this chapter, we had to do exactly this just a few weeks ago, when he had symptoms that could potentially have been a sign of relapse, i.e. the leukemia returning. We were incredibly grateful when a full examination by the A&E team, followed by the all-important blood test, gave him the all clear. Phew. Even though we had fairly quick confirmation that the leukemia had not returned, my wife and I still had a few days of worry as we recalled just how hard and draining his treatment had been on us all as a family. The difference between pre-leukemia and now is that we know the symptoms to look for. We know that the fastest way to properly assess things is with a blood test at the hospital. We know the people we need to see. The oncology team have repeatedly told us to go directly to the hospital if we have any concerns about relapse. That's what they're there for, and we are very grateful for them. In case you've been reading the above thinking it was only about our son's leukemia, please think again. I'm sharing this story with you to make a deliberate point. Isn't this a lot like business? As business owners, as marketers, it can be so easy to just carry on doing what we think is best for our business. If any problems occur, we try to resolve them reactively, as they happen, rather than proactively in advance. Perhaps we always try to fix problems the same way we always have, never looking to see if there's a better way, or some way that we can prevent this problem occurring again. It is often only when we step back and look at the bigger picture that we can see the true extent of any problems. Sometimes we might need an outside expert to come in and help us to see this bigger picture, although be careful which highly paid business consultant you get in to help you, and always keep a close eye on what they're billing you for. So let me ask you a question. When did you last step back and look at your business in its entirety? Have you ever stepped back? Or are you so busy putting out fires, chasing new business, and trying to keep all the plates spinning that you haven't got the time to stop, step back, and take a holistic look at your business as a whole? Mild or severe? In our bodies, symptoms caused by illness, disease, or trauma can range from mild through to severe. The severity of the symptoms will often, but not always, be a good indicator of the seriousness of the problem and may help to inform the type of treatment needed. By way of example, let's imagine a person who is suffering with arthritis in the hip. Specifically, we'll use osteoarthritis, the most common type of arthritis in the UK. I've also chosen it because I have written so many pages of content for clients about this condition over the years that I know a little bit about it. Osteoarthritis causes a smooth lining on the ends of the bones, the articular cartilage, to break down more rapidly than normal. In a healthy joint, as the bones move against one another, the articular cartilage helps ensure movement is smooth and free of friction. As osteoarthritis develops in a joint and the articular cartilage is broken down more, movement of the bones against one another starts to cause friction. This friction leads to pain and stiffness in the joint. In the earlier stages of osteoarthritis, there may be no symptoms to notice. If there is any pain or stiffness, it will often be relatively mild and is usually thought of as being a natural part of aging. As osteoarthritis progresses and the cartilage is broken down more extensively, the symptoms become much more pronounced, eventually causing severe pain and stiffness in the joint. A person with advanced osteoarthritis in their hip may be extremely slow and limited in their movements, having to rely on a mobility aid to move themselves safely. They will often also be in pain a lot of the time. Despite the effect such a condition has on daily life, many people with osteoarthritis in their hip will not seek any type of medical guidance or help until their symptoms become too severe to ignore. By this stage, they may well have been struggling for weeks, months, or even years with pain and stiffness in their hip. Other people may seek medical advice at a much earlier stage, while symptoms are still relatively mild. In these cases, a physiotherapist or an osteopath may be able to help relieve or manage the symptoms. Here's the key point. Somebody with mild symptoms would not expect to be told by their doctor that they need total hip replacement surgery immediately. If you went to see a doctor about mild hip pain and they asked you to get up onto their consulting table so that they could operate on you immediately, you would hopefully ignore their advice. and run out of the consulting room as quickly as possible. Ridiculous in healthcare, just another day for a marketer. Even though such a scenario seems so ridiculous to us, isn't this precisely the type of thing that happens in business every day? If you've ever approached a marketing agency or copywriter for help, you may have been surprised at how quickly they tried to operate on you to remove money from your business and deposit it into their own. I like to refer to such a treatment as a budgetectomy or financial transfusion. Without taking the time to assess your particular symptoms or to find out more about your business and industry, they will often want to jump straight into selling you their products or services, i.e. treatments, that may or may not be the right ones for you. Just as some medical doctors like to use long words to make themselves look clever, many marketers will try to use phrases or buzzwords to confuse and intimidate people into hiring them. Words and phrases like SEO, content marketing, blogs, social media, likes, views and shares. While such a person will often pat themselves on the back when they successfully fool, also known as sell something to, a person using this approach, they delude only themselves if they think this is an ethical, healthy way to run a business. If you need to confuse somebody in order to sell them something, the chances are high that what you are selling is not providing any value to them. So, what other danger signs do we need to be aware of in our business? How can we tell if we need expert treatment for a problem? Do some problems resolve themselves if left alone? What can we do to make sure we don't fall for some kind of marketing scam that may end up causing serious, possibly permanent damage to our business? Do you have any of these common symptoms? There are clear symptoms of unhealthy marketing and of an unhealthy business. The earlier you are aware of any symptoms, the sooner you will be able to treat the underlying cause or causes and prevent more extensive, possibly fatal damage to your business. As somebody who likes to think differently, I must apologise in advance for what you are about to read. Given the healthy approach to business I've chosen to take in this book, I have decided to cleverly, or more likely purely for my own amusement, merge some common health problems with well-known business and marketing topics to make them memorable, and to hopefully make you smile. You'll very quickly see that many of them have been crowbarred in very inelegantly. Alliteration is used with abandon, and with no shame. Continue reading at your own risk. You have been warned. Symptoms and conditions of unhealthy marketing or an unhealthy business include follow-up fever, sales sweats, phone call phobia, advertising angina, lead lethargy, brand bursitis, inbound marketing irritation, persuasion-induced palpitations, marketing migraines, hard work headaches, meeting meningitis, AdWords amputation, SEO short-sightedness, campaign colitis, arthritic algorithms, pale profits, anemic advertising, budget bloat, retargeting reflux, spreadsheet soreness, A/B testing addiction, PDF parasite, dynamic content depression, tracking tics, financial fibrillation, back-end blindness, content marketing confusion, upsell ulcer, infographic infection, bounce rate burnout, call to action confusion, social media stiffness, pay-per-click pain, ROI rash, web form weakness, GDPR gout. Although the list above was written with my tongue firmly in my cheek, there is, sadly, a lot of truth contained within it as well. If you have been involved in marketing for years, you may have found yourself with a wry smile on your face as you read through that list. If you're new to marketing, you may have recognised a few of these terms from what you've seen online or read in a regular marketing book. Either way, all the symptoms mentioned above will often be caused by something unhealthy in the marketing itself or the business. When symptoms are discovered, my approach is always to take a step back, look at the bigger picture and ask myself, what could be causing this symptom? Have I seen this symptom before? If so, how did I treat it then? In what way or ways is this symptom impacting my ability to make a profit? If left untreated, how will this symptom develop? Are there any other symptoms in the business that may be linked to this one? How can I treat this symptom so that it doesn't come back? The problem with symptoms. I've been fortunate to have run the London Marathon a couple of times. More recently, I've completed ultramarathons of 100 kilometres, raising money for Click Sergeant, a charity supporting children with cancer. They were a huge help to us all as a family during our son's treatment, so it was a privilege to be able to raise some money for them. You'll read more about my ultramarathon exploits later in this book. In short, I love fitness and am a keen proponent of improving our health. I am a firm believer that if more people exercised, not necessarily pumping heavy weights in the gym, but just taking some gentle exercise like going for a walk every day, they would be much healthier. The added advantage of this would be reduced pressures on the health service in this country over time, but that's one for the politicians to argue over. However, the reality is that many people do not choose to make fitness or health a priority. There are a lot of unhealthy people. There are a lot of people who eat unhealthy things. There are a lot of people choosing to put unhealthy things into their bodies every day. In the Western world, certain illnesses, diseases and medical conditions, like cancer, diabetes and obesity, are on the increase. Unfortunately, no matter how much money is pumped into health awareness initiatives or healthy eating, no matter how much tax is added to sugar, there will always be some people who choose to stay with an unhealthy diet and lifestyle. Now please know that this is not intended to be a judgment on them. I fully appreciate many people are extremely limited with their budget for food, what they know about nutrition and healthy eating, etc. I'm using this as an example purely to emphasise a point. And of course many people are unhealthy without really knowing it. Somebody who is just starting to experience the very first signs or symptoms of cancer may have had the cancer growing in their body for a while before the symptoms developed enough for them to notice, just like with our son. Other people will know that they are not fit, that they are not healthy, that their lifestyle and diet is not healthy, but the thought of change is just too much for them to consider. As an aside, if you are interested in discovering more about the psychology of change, I highly recommend the book Change or Die by Alan Deutschman. And so they choose to remain in their unhealthy state. Over time, this unhealthy lifestyle increases the risk of them developing certain serious illnesses. The same can be said of businesses around the world. There are some businesses that are choosing to market in a healthy way. They are approaching their marketing sustainably, sensibly, strategically, wisely, efficiently, and effectively. They have a long-term approach. They are keeping the good stuff in and the bad stuff, the unhealthy stuff, out. By the same token, many businesses around the world are incredibly unhealthy in how they choose to market themselves and in how they choose to operate. Their focus is often exceptionally short-term results. This may be due to the way they were set up, how they are structured, the ways they have chosen to market themselves, or the ways they move money into and out of the business. If your business is unhealthy, over time you will begin to see warning signs. They may be wild warning signs or more serious ones. They may show up as reduced profits or a higher turnover of clients. Perhaps the customers you do have are spending less than they used to. You may find yourself having to work harder to get new clients or to make a sale. Maybe you start getting less than ideal clients who take up more of your time, are more demanding and unwilling to pay your normal rates. Are you finding it harder to attract or to keep good staff? Does keeping the business going just seem so much harder than it used to? All of these are good indicators that something is unhealthy in your business. Some part or process is not working properly, and that is causing problems in the business. Shortly in this book, we will be looking at how to diagnose a problem in your business if you notice any unhealthy symptoms. Before we start diagnosing anything though, I'd like to invite you to travel back in time to 1996 and join me at the London Marathon. So, lace up your imaginary running shoes, stretch those calves, and prepare to start jogging. Things are about to get interesting.